Hi, everybody. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm going to accidentally close this out. Don't want to do that. Okay. Hi. My name is Stephanie Campbell. I graduated from CSUN in winter of 2016, so just about 5 years ago. Oh, let me turn off my AC real quick. That's going to be a weird noise. Okay. So yeah, just about 5 years ago. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have just like a little PowerPoint with some basic notes on it. Okay. Oops, sorry. Oh my gosh, why am I having trouble presenting this? One sec. Okay, does anybody know why I can't present my screen, my presentation?
Maybe try refreshing.
Oh, that worked. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So I just want to kind of talk a little bit about my experience in the industry and how I got to my current job. I'm a stylist for Revolve, which has been my favorite job I've ever had. So I started out working for Trunk Club, Nordstrom Trunk Club. It did take me a little over a year to find my first job in the industry. It can be kind of frustrating, but like totally worth it. I had a lot of experience working just retail jobs, kind of part-time. I always worked in restaurants and stuff heading in. So there was always this feeling of like, I didn't have as much experience with the people because I didn't have as much time to intern and do all of those things. And also, you know, coming from CSUN, there's that feeling that, you know, maybe everyone else went to FITM or Parsons, or they went to like these dedicated fashion schools. And it isn't that way. I ended up working with in the same position as these people that went to other schools or had more experience. It really just is more about putting yourself out there, I would say. The only internship I had was the one that I had to have for my internship course, which was great. I worked with JD Lux. She was Jordana was a CSUN alumni as well, and she started her own business out of her parents' house. And she had a little mobile shop. And when I started working with her, she had a full website and was doing pop-ups all over LA. I did a mix of work with her. It was a lot of kind of putting stuff up on her e-commerce site, getting descriptions up, steaming things to be sent out, packaging things, helping her merchandise her pop-ups. Like it was a really well-rounded experience. And that was kind of the bulk of my experience working outside of just mainstream retail. What I would say, if you're in a retail position, let them know what your career goals are. Like I worked at J. Crew for maybe 6 months, and I initially applied to be their like visual merchandiser. And while they didn't offer me that position, they did have me work alongside the girl that did get hired, and I helped her kind of build out displays, and they had me help with like new rollouts and everything. So I was more helping to merchandise the store. So I think I'll talk about this a little more later, but just like it's really good to be transparent with what you're trying to do in those positions and looking for those opportunities in the position that you're in. And that really, really helped me in terms of styling and just kind of getting more well-rounded. Um, when I started at Trunk Club, I was working just as a welcome specialist. So I was onboarding clients into our program. I'm just kind of getting sizing information, giving them more information about it, collecting payment information so that our stylists could have a seamless transition to those purchases. It took maybe a year to get out of that position and actually become a stylist. I was a stylist there for a little over 2 years and then got hired at Revolve. So going into what I do now, I work as a style expert with Revolve. So we have our dedicated page here. People can come to us if they have an account and submit a styling request or just chat with us if they need something real quick, like sizing or whatever. I actually, with Revolve, have been able to go to Fashion Week for their first like major Fashion Week event, which was amazing for the Dundas and Revolve fashion show. It's been like absolutely incredible. The company is amazing and my team is amazing. I really love it. I get to do a lot of like creative expression and I'm building really great relationships with my customers in a way that I never have been able to before. Some of the things that we do outside of styling, like I'll do our like campaign or email campaigns. So I work with the marketing team to send out like, we have like our holiday dress campaign and it's merchandising. So just, sorry. So it took a lot to get here. Like it wasn't overnight and it was very frustrating at times. There's a lot of reaching out, not hearing back. And there have definitely been times where it kind of wears you down. But some of my just kind of key tips on finding that first job, getting your foot in the door if you haven't had that experience. I didn't know that there were recruiters that were exclusively dedicated to the fashion industry, and that's who was reaching out to me the most on like LinkedIn. So always keep your LinkedIn updated. But JB Style is actually, or no, LaSalle Network is actually how I got my first job with Trunk Club. They reached out to me, but JB Style, I connected with them and I did get several job offers through their recruitment program. I didn't end up taking those jobs. I think one thing I did when I was first starting out and looking for jobs, I was like practically begging people to hire me. Like it didn't matter what the job was. I just wanted to get into the industry. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't think it's always the best route to go. Trunk Club kind of popped into my lap and it was absolutely like invaluable to starting out my career. It wasn't by any means my dream job. I had hoped to kind of start a career with them and that just wasn't really possible. And it can, again, be a little discouraging, but what you don't realize in the moment is the people that you are working with, like that's your network. Like the industry is so much smaller than you think it is going into it. Like everybody knows somebody, like everybody. When you are going into your first job, I think the biggest mistake I saw people make was not taking it seriously because it was a very like relaxed atmosphere. But you know, just go into that job like it is your dream job. I performed very well at that job because I wanted to move up with them, honestly. But it taught me to always go in like 100%, show up every day and be ready to work and like make connections with the people around you. Like my job that I have now, I have it because I worked closely with a peer at work, and her friend got her this job and she got the job because she knew his boyfriend who she worked with at Vans just at retail. And so it's just, even your retail job that you honestly hate can land you your dream job. I saw a lot of people like slacking off or not, taking, you take like a 30-minute break, and you're supposed to taking 15, or up and you're walking around, you're talking to people, and people notice that. Like There are people that I worked with that I think are very talented, but when it comes time for us to hire our next stylist in our team, I wouldn't reach out to them because I don't think that they take their work seriously. I just can't drive home enough to treat every job you have like it is your dream job. Show your skills, show your personality, like even in your interviews, like don't feel like you have to be a certain way or present yourself in a certain light. Like I have a very big personality and I showed that in my interviews, and that is what got me job offers. Like people want to see you when you're going into your interviews, and even in your resume, like spice it up, like show yourself, because you are like selling that to the people that you're interviewing with. Always keep your LinkedIn updated with accurate information. I actually got a job offer after 4 interviews because I was not entirely honest about my Excel skills for an assistant buying position. And when it came down to it, it wasted my time, it wasted theirs, because it was such a huge part of the job. And when I had to take like an aptitude test for it, it was like very embarrassing. Don't make up stuff on your LinkedIn or your resume, which should go without saying. But when you think that you know something, make sure you know it to the full extent. Also, like following up, like yes, after your interviews, but after you've applied, reach out to that HR team and just be annoying. Like it's gotten me so many interviews. I also had interviewed with a company called Not Standard. It's like men's custom wear right before quarantine, and they sent me a rejection email. But I just had this feeling that it was it was kind of a mistake. And I reached back out to them about 6 months later, and it was. And, I went through the interview process again with a different manager, and I did get a job offer through them as well. I ended up not taking it because just in my gut, I felt like it wasn't the right move for me, even though it technically was a better job. And I held out for about 3 more months, and my friend tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "We have this opening, it's part-time. It might turn into full-time. Are you interested?" And I took it because it felt right. And 3 months later, it turned into a full-time salaried position with a company that I didn't think I would ever have the opportunity to work for. Um, so going back to just like your relationships with people, I consider myself a social butterfly, but even if you're not, like talk to the people around you. And like if you're at in a workplace where you have happy hours or anything like that, like go to them. Talk to your managers outside of just like a touch base or things like that. Like don't force things or be fake, but like the relationships that you build in those first jobs, you'll start seeing those networks kind of build out into other companies, and you'll see how far reaching they are. It's insane, like insane. When you're in those positions again, just like if you're looking to move up, you're looking for a higher level job, talk about it every chance you get, like, and show that you're willing to do that. So when I was working as just a welcome specialist at Trunk Club, I actually paired with my now coworker who got me this job. And we put together kind of like an analysis of our customers, what was working through chat, what the top performing stylists were doing over the lower performing ones, over the middle performing. And it went all the way up to our corporate. We did presentations for the entire company, like nationwide. I'm a very competitive person. I always push myself to be in the top 5 of our state results. I ended up getting I got a performance award for my job, and I was also able to go to what they call President's Club. I got to go to Cabo for like 5 days in this like insane resort with like all the top performers of our company. And that led to more like networking. I ended up connecting with another sales manager from Chicago who tapped me for another job interview with the company that she started working with after she left Trunk Club. And even though I didn't pursue that, like I have her as a connection now. Like we touch base here and there. She'll check in with me if she hears about something. She sent me a few opportunities that I interviewed for. It's like, oh, sorry. It just goes back to being just, it's a very small place. Like I had another interview where I saw the name and it sounded so familiar, and it popped up, and it was someone that had worked in my office briefly and remembered me, so it's, and even going to like things like this, like I went to the career symposium every year that I attended CSUN, and one year there was this woman, Chanel, who was a friend of Professor Warren's, who had spoke at the panel, and she had at the time owned her own boutique, and I had reached out to her, and something about, she was just like such a warm person, and I just was like, I want to work with someone like her. Like, she seems like she's such a good manager, such a good leader, and she's amazing. And she didn't have anything at the time available, just even retail. And 6 months later I graduated, and a year later I ended up at Trunk Club my first day. Chanel was a sales manager at my new job. Like, I saw her and I was like, Chanel? Like, and she's someone that I didn't work with super closely, but kept in contact with in our office. And I'll have a recommendation from her. I have recommendations from, the head of my office, just like she called out my performance, and I have like, she emailed me just a letter of recommendation to have, like, it's, and she's working for like at another like large e-commerce company, and it's just that network just builds out and builds out and builds out. So as you're growing with your career, having those people in your back pocket to reach out to who remember you and have a positive and like positive memories of you are always going to be willing to give you a shot, or like, if they're not hiring, they'll pass you on to someone who is. And I've seen that happen again and again and again with people that I worked with that did well. They've all moved on to jobs that they love. And that's, I think, the biggest takeaway is to treat your job like it is the end all be all. Like, that's where you're going to be, that's your career, that's your dream job, and have that mindset even when it gets tough, because there were days where like it felt a little soul crushing. Like, I thought about honestly leaving the fashion industry some days at my old job, and I'm so thankful that I stuck with it, because I can't say enough about how much I love my job. I never thought that I could have a job as a professional stylist and feel successful and have these opportunities that are being given to me now. We're really building out our team. It's a relatively new position, and there's only 3 of us. We have meetings every other week with our CEO. We get to talk to him directly, tell him what we want to see, tell him our ideas, and he listens. And that's such a refreshing thing. And it feels absolutely amazing to be building out this team, and we're potentially hiring someone in the new year, and we get to kind of decide what that looks like, and we get to connect with our customers in any way that we would like to. And it's so rewarding to work in a job where you feel like you get to use your creativity and your vision and fits what you're looking for. So whether that's buying, styling, textiles, design, whatever that is for you, just keep that's your goal, and like, keep your eyes on it regardless of where you're at, because everyone has to grind through that job that they just absolutely do not want to wake up and go to. And it's worth it in the end, because even if you're not grinding for that dream job within your current company, just look at it as you're grinding for your dream job for the next place, because people do remember. Yeah, I think that's kind of the bulk of what I have to say about where I'm at. I don't know if I kind of wanted to just open it up more to discussion, so I'm not just like talking at you guys. If anyone has any questions or wants to share anything, I would love that. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this and kind of let you guys pop in.
I have a quick question. What did you study when you were at CSUN?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I studied fashion design and merchandising with the emphasis in merchandising. And I would also say the classes that I use the most knowledge from would be textiles. I went up to the level 3 of textiles. I took the history of costume with Professor Goldstein, which you might think is just like if you're doing design or costume design, but honestly, like, that helped me understand like construction, and it helps you with like predicting new trends and stuff. Like, you can look back and see like where things came from. It was a really awesome class. And then Professor Warren's is it analysis of clothing or of apparel? Yeah, that honestly, hands down, probably gave me the most knowledge of any class I took for the current role that I'm for my current position being a stylist. Like, keep all those notes, keep your textbooks and all that, because as you're, interviewing and stuff, it's really good to kind of look back and just have that in the back of your mind.
I do have a question. So, as a CSUN student, like, especially being a junior, did you have like a certain plan? What was your mindset at the time, or like how were you able to still have that goal to become a stylist as a junior and then going into senior year? Like, what is the priority from there? That
Yeah, I actually really kind of struggled with deciding because I wanted to be a stylist since I was like a kid. Like, What Not to Wear was my favorite show that came out when I was like, I don't know, 9 years old. And I just religiously watched it. Like, everyone in my family thought it was so funny, but I've always wanted to do that and never realistically thought that I could have that as my job. Like, I just did. I was like, oh, you can be a Nordstrom stylist and that's it. Like, or like at a, retail or whatever. So going from my junior year, I really was kind of torn. I didn't know if I wanted to go more design. I didn't know if I could be a stylist. I was really kind of leaning into buying, which at what I've experienced in the industry, it doesn't really interest me as much anymore. And like, I think a lot of people want to do just design or merchandising because you think that's all you can do, but there are so many things like at different levels that you can do. So I really kept myself kind of open. I started taking, that's why I took like an additional textiles course. That's why I took history of costume. I started like just taking more electives, kind of trying to filter what stuck out to me and like just trying to gather as much as I could in terms of just education.
okay, so you didn't really have like a game plan up until like senior year, like CSUN, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like when I graduated, I was honestly like, I will take anything. Like I remember just like absolutely begging to be hired as an assistant jewelry merchandiser for a company that was literally, my job would be to go to stores, buy jewelry, take it back to my office and recreate that jewelry with producers in China for cheaper. And I was going to be paid like $20,000 a year. Like, it was no benefits. It was ridiculous. And I was like, please just give me a shot. Like, I interviewed for anything and everything. And I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. That trunk club job, it honestly fell into my lap when I was not expecting it. And it set the stage and set the tone for what I was going to be doing in the future. It was like, oh, a job where I could kind of style people and it's like an office job. That's interesting.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really, really had an open mindset, but in the back of my head, I've always wanted to be a stylist.
Okay. And then last question. So, like, do you have any advice for people who are juniors currently now, like what they should be thinking or anything from your experience?
Yeah, I feel like everyone has like their dream job in their mind. Like, what would like picture yourself in 5 to 10 years and like what would make you happy? Like, is it working with customers? Is it, leading a team? Is it designing for a company? Is it being a freelance designer? Is it, textiles? Like, whatever is kind of sticking out to you as you go through school and you're taking classes, like pay attention to the classes that you do the best in and that are like kind of fueling a fire for you, I would say.
Okay. Yeah.
If that helps. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Perfect.
I have a question. You're a stylist in Revolve, like, what's the difference between styling for them and like a celebrity stylist?
So we do have an entire team that's adjacent to us that does celebrity styling and like loan box pools and all of that. Um, they are they're I would say they're more like more high touch. They're going to be working that client base kind of day in day out. Their job is really going to be like more communication, and it's kind of like having the most high touch customer that you can imagine having. And it's a little bit more pressure, I would say, especially when you're pulling from our website for like Megan Fox. Like it's a little stressful, and they're coming to your event and they're walking your carpet in what you picked for them, and then they're going to be picked apart on the internet, on screen, whatever. um their job isn't as like revenue based as ours. It's like a technical thing. Like, they're more just trying to get the product out, I would say, and matching up like someone's public persona to what they're wearing. So it's a little just, I would say it's more pressure a little bit would be the biggest difference for me, and just a lot more day in, day out customer communication. Not that I don't, but I have a lot of other job responsibilities that fall into it being tech, because we're technically part of the marketing department for Revolve.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question as well. When you were applying for jobs, I know like the biggest thing, I think we all struggle is resume, especially when you don't have a lot of experience, because some of the times we're full-time students, or, you know, we're working like jobs that like don't actually are part of the fashion industry.
Yeah.
So do they normally ask also like for portfolios, or what is like keywords that we should be including to put in our resumes so it'll, you know, get some attraction, and we'll get a response back right away?
So for me, like I said, I worked in restaurants for 10 years, like between I graduated from CSUN when I was 26. So I was a little bit older. I always did kind of part-time school. I put myself through school. I come from a huge family. I have 8 sisters. Like I was the first person to graduate from college in my family. So I took it a little slower, and I did feel, you know, very insecure about sending out resumes. But once I started interviewing, like, you realize those jobs that you work that aren't in the industry, you're still gaining knowledge from them. And like I said, like, act like that's your dream job. Like if I was working in a restaurant, I was a trainer. I was making sure that people knew I showed up. So having those letters of recommendation, even from like a general manager from a retail or from restaurants or any kind of customer service, because in the end of the day, what you're doing is working with people. So having that people experience is what you want to highlight. Like, this is how I work in a team setting. This is how I can work on my own. These are the skills I'm learning in school. Like, really hone in on, like, Excel is really important, as I mentioned before. I'm doing a little bit more advanced Excel training at my current job too, that they're paying for, which is great. But if you want to do buying, merchandising, you need to be not even like proficient in Excel, but like you have to know it in and out, because that's going to be the bulk of your job. But yeah, I would say just like really highlight that those connections that you're making with people and your ability to like handle pressure. So like I worked at Paradise Cove in Malibu, and I keep that on my resume still, because that was the hardest job I've ever had in my life. And people know it, and so it kind of stands out a little bit. And as you get more job experience, I wouldn't say fully get rid of those positions, but take out the ones that don't really reflect much value, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is too broad of a question, but like, how does a typical day at your job look like?
Yeah, it's actually funny. We were actually breaking that down today, because we might be needing to hire someone, and we're trying to figure out what the position we need is. So I usually come in, I have my work phone, and I usually have a few customers that have reached out to me that either they want a lookbook or they want a styling box. So we do 2 different things. We either have just our lookbook customers who are sending just landing pages to, like that kind of campaign page I showed you. And so we build those out custom for them and email them to them. Or we have our higher value customers who spend a little bit more, and we'll actually send them physical loan boxes. And those are the PR boxes that the PR team sends out to like our celebrity and influencer clients. But we use those as a tool for our team. So I'll check in on those customers, make sure that, if I have any outstanding loans, that I know where they're at. I have people checked out, all of that. And then we also have just our live chat going. Since the position is new, our software is a little clunky. So I have like 4 screens that I'm dealing with. So you can, if they provide it, if not, you can do a little snooping, try to find them, look at their our buying team, so we know what's coming in. Today was a very meeting heavy day. I think I had like 3.5 hours in meetings with different teams. We have our seasonal meetings. And then I have to build out those like weekly campaigns. So every week we send out 2 emails, and it takes like probably 2.5 hours to put all the product together, pull everything, make sure we have all the sizing, make sure things are to be available if they're pre-order by the time we send it out, editing those, working with our marketing team to make sure that their email graphics look good because they're coding and then we're the kind of eye. So making sure that everything looks nice on that. And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. And then also we have like this other tool we use where we can pull things that people have like put on a wait list. And those are like our higher value customers and like doing customer outreach on that end. So it's a lot of trying to pull people into our service.
So is your job like a normal 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. job, or like do you find yourself having to do work outside of your normal hours?
For me, for our team, my supervisor is really, or like our lead stylist, he's really about like, you work your 8 hours and you're done. Because sometimes I'll be like, oh my God, Ryan, I'm going to work another hour. I didn't get the campaign done. Like, I want to make sure it's sent out by 12. And he's like, no, turn your computer off and do it in the morning. It's fine. When I first started, I was working 10-hour days because I was so paranoid that I wasn't going to do well. And I was so excited about the job. And he was like, please don't do that. Like, you're going to burn yourself out. And I don't want that. The Forward team, which is our sister site, which is all the like kind of higher end designers, like the real designers, they're working like nonstop, but their job is a little different. Like they're constantly servicing a very high touch client, high spend, and they are working I believe they're working solely on commission. So I'm not commissioned. We're salaried, so it's a little different, but yeah, we make our own schedules, which is amazing. And at my last job, it was also 9 to 5, like a 9 to 5. We had just 8-hour shifts.
So I have 2 questions.
Mhm.
Let me turn my camera.
Hey.
So do you guys offer internships at Revolve?
We don't at the moment, but we have in the past. We don't have anything available at the moment. But I think when we do, I believe they are posted on our revolve.com/careers website. But yeah, I know we are usually hiring for customer service. And that's where my lead stylist, he started in customer service. And him and another girl that also worked in customer service brought to our CEO that they thought we should have a styling program like Forward had, and they built out this team.
Okay.
Another thing where it's live it like it's your dream.
Another
Because that customer service job is a little rough, but it is a really good way to get your foot in
it
the
is
door.
rough.
Yeah.
Another question, it kind of ties into Avia's question about the resume.
Yeah.
So I'm also a senior major in apparel merchandising. And so when applying to jobs, especially like visual merchandising, a lot of them require like 3 to 5 years of experience. So that's something like I'm struggling with, like how to get that experience.
Yeah, that can be super discouraging. Like been there. Like I was saying earlier, like are you working a retail job now?
Right now, I got a job at West Elm.
Okay, cool. If you can like partner with a manager or someone and let them know that you're looking for that merchandising experience, maybe if they can have you work alongside someone, come in the mornings when they're doing like their displays or anything like that. Offer to do it for like we had one of our projects for our capstone class was actually doing a visual window. There are so many places like in like Culver City, there's a lot of little boutiques and stuff. We actually approached a secondhand store that did like kind of like fashiony resale, and we did that for ours. But just approach people, like if you live in a little like where you even around locally, like if you see like little boutiques or anything, ask them if they'd let you do things like do things for your portfolio. And if you're looking to do visual merchandising, I would really say to like build your portfolio, even if you're doing it without pay. Like it's honestly worth it. And also I know like Nordstrom and Bloomingdale's for sure both do visual internships. So sorry, my cat's being go. So if you can get into something like that, applying to those programs are really helpful. And again, that's building your network. Even if you don't end up there, like pay attention to where people are going. and be very clear about your career goals.
Okay.
And some jobs you have to have that 3 to 5 years. And I applied to so many and didn't get calls. But even if you have to step a little bit, like a step or 2 or even 3 below what you're looking to do, I would say do it.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. What's your favorite part about your job?
That I have a creative outlet every single day. Like for me, creativity is so important. Like my brain craves it. Like I can't sit behind, I sit behind a computer, but like not in the way where I'm like writing reports or looking at like style codes all day. It's very interactive. My days, like, yeah, I have like kind of a basic frame of my day, but it's always different. I'm always like, it's a new challenge. Like one of my favorite things is styling brides. Like I get to do a lot of like really fun avant-garde bridal looks. I get people like wanting me to style them for like, you know, they might not be an influencer, but they're walking a carpet or they're going to a gala, and like getting to be a part of an event for someone, it feels cool. And I have people, you know, tag me on Instagram that they, you know, where they're wearing my clothes, where they're wearing my looks, or they'll send me pictures. And it's that what not to wear feeling where you're like, you made someone over and you made them feel amazing and they want to keep coming back to you. It's honestly like a little bit of a rush. It's really fun. And also like, I know a lot of people when I was in school got to go to Fashion Week for their internships. I was not lucky like that. I did not get to. And so I think the highlight of this job was being able to do that. Like it felt absolutely amazing. Like I have never, for me, it was like the peak of my career. Like I got to meet my clients in person. I got to help them shop our pop-up. I got to interact with people, and it was amazing. Like I got to see so much more of since we were all working from home, I got to see so much more of like that team around my team, like people I hadn't met. And yeah, it was just really cool. Like when you get to do things that like you didn't think you could do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we have a question in the chat.
Oh yeah.
He says, can we connect with you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, for sure. It's Stephanie Campbell. I think it's just I think my LinkedIn is just / Stephanie Campbell, but let me double check. Okay, I don't know where it is, but this is me. I have my little headshot. You can find me on there. It's pretty self-explanatory. It says Revolve and CSUN. Yeah, absolutely connect with me on there and feel free to reach out. I'll also send in this is my work email if anyone like has any questions or anything. I know my like, oh yeah, does someone have something?
Yeah, I have another question.
Yeah.
Is there anything else like that you're looking forward to doing in your career? Or like, do you have any other career goals that you're looking to pursue and meet?
I would like to continue styling. I would love to at some point transition to forward when I've built a big enough client book, or I feel confident enough to like kind of tackle that market. That would be amazing. I know, you know, my other 2 coworkers, Ryan really wants to kind of move up and keep working in the data. He does a lot of data analyzing. So he kind of wants to go more onto that side and work, kind of delve more into that. And Kim, she's looking to kind of move up more into like buying and merchandising. I could honestly do this job for a long time. Like it makes me very happy. I think just kind of progressing along the stylist track would be great.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone has anything else, but I know my presentation was short. I like absolutely hate talking about myself. It makes me feel so weird, but when it's a question, it feels fine. So if anyone has like anything, I'm here.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So, like, of course, like everyone has their own personal styles, but let's say you want to work for a certain brand. How can you like prove yourself that you can like work for their tailored or specific style, like through your portfolio or like with or like in the interview?
Yeah, I haven't had anyone ask me for a styling position for a portfolio, but it would, if you have one, that's great. I think it's just being well-rounded and understanding different trends. So like when I got hired for Revolve, I had a referral and they were ready to hire me, but they wanted, the last thing I had to do was a presentation on styling, and they had to take things from the website and put them together for different scenarios. And a lot of it like maybe wasn't my style. I think a trap that people fall into is like having one aesthetic that they follow, and that's fine for your own style, but like truly understanding all kind of avenues of it. Like especially in my job, like if you're working for like a corporate company like Nordstrom or Bloomingdale or something like that, I think working in that market was like amazing, because I was working with people all the way from like 18 to like into their 80s, and everyone all across the country. So it was people in Midwest, like Midwest, California, like just everywhere. And one of the things we did as a team at that job was we started looking at bloggers from different areas. So like look up those bloggers from Michigan, look up the bloggers in Texas, and kind of see what people are wearing in those specific markets. It gives you just kind of like a general vibe of the area, and it makes it so much easier. And like, I'm 31. I don't know. I don't wear what like the 19-year-olds are wearing. I can't do a baggy jeans and a crop top. Like I'll look ridiculous. But like you have to understand what that look is and what they're looking for. So I spend a lot of time on influencer pages. I'll go onto like younger fashion sites. I go into like the high-end fashion sites, like keeping tabs, not so much on like runway look stuff, which is so fun, but like really understanding what actual people are wearing day to day, because like you don't want to be putting someone in like a ridiculous, like something ridiculous for an everyday work look and having to be like, what are you doing? Like they'll lose their trust immediately. But yeah, just being very well-rounded in terms of style is what I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. So do you style like the looks on like the websites, or like what do you like specifically style?
Yeah, so we don't, if there's looks that are on the website, that's actually the merchandising team that does that. But we are doing like when we send out like push emails, if you see something that's like seasonal dresses or like skirts and tops and that kind of thing, we've put that together on our landing page. We have on the revolve.com/style expert. We have like our custom looks that we've put together that we actually need to update because they're old now, but we do those. And then anyone that sends in a request, we're styling. And that just looks like a landing page basically, but it's custom curated. And then we are sending out those like those twice a week editorials where we've pulled to match like a theme. So like right now we're building on like, we have to set up a calendar every month with the marketing team, so we're not like clashing with them with like, you know, sweater weather or like focus on plaid or like fall textures, like, and we have to put together, it's a 14 line like landing page with, it has to have 48 items total, and it has to be all laid out a certain way. And that requires, you know, like a certain eye and being able to put something together cohesively. Like it's very aesthetics based.
Thank you.
And also just kind of building on, someone asked me the question about different styles. If you're applying for a specific company, really get a feel for, before you go into your interview, you want to know just kind of by your own research what that target demographic is. Like if it's, you know, men and women, if it's children, whatever it is, like understanding what the demographic is, what the age group is, what that girl's job is, like where she's going, what she's doing. That's like for Revolve, that was so important that you get the customer before you are signed on, because it's a very specific demographic that we're targeting.
I have a question over Revolve. I've been to their website and I know they're like catered to more like luxury, but they really have nice like, you know, garments and everything. I always go to the South. Who did exactly though, who did exactly caters or what's Revolve's like, what's the audience that they cater to? Who are they trying to target?
We're targeting that like kind of it girl, like she's in her career, she's maybe career building or well established in her career, she has a busy calendar, she's probably 28 to 36. She has that income to kind of spend on clothes. She understands the importance of a capsule wardrobe, of you know, of splurge pieces, investment pieces. She gets those designers and she like really values her wardrobe and what she's putting into it. Like it's a priority to her.
So over time, does like Revolve, who's in charge of setting that branding? Is that the stylist responsibility, or is that like the merchandising, or is that someone else from a different department? Because I know like over time, you know, people start to start changing their looks and they figure out another demographic to target.
Yeah, I think Revolve's voice has been very strong and consistent throughout its like from the time it was conceived until now. That girl, her style changes, you know, she's on trend. So she's expecting us to evolve with the trends and evolve with her rather than us evolving and her like a new customer coming to us. Like we want to keep that same kind of target demographic. It's like the whole like Revolve voice, I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I also could not afford Revolve before I worked there, so do not feel bad. I was not their target demographic.
Wasn't either, but I just like looking at their stuff because you can see a difference with their quality of clothes that they pick out compared to, you know, what we're used to seeing, especially at a student budget. So you're like,
oh, absolutely. One of the girls I work with on, she's on marketing and data analysis, but she does a lot of overlap with our team. Like we work with her on a lot of our push emails. She just graduated from somewhere, I think in Nevada. She lives in Vegas right now, but she went to Fashion Week with us and she was like, I don't know how to dress myself and you guys look so nice. And I was like, you're 22, you just graduated, it is fine. Like you look fresh and cute, like don't worry about it. Like, and also I would say just staple wardrobe pieces for now, like find a nice pair of jeans, find a nice interview top, find a decent blazer and a good pair of heels and booties and you're set. Like don't stress on it too much until you get into a position where you could actually afford nice clothes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually have another quick question I wanted to ask. Does Revolve like tend to get their clothing from smaller brands, or is it brands like overseas? Because I know like you like mentioned they have good quality clothes. So who do they normally tend to, you know, pick, or what kind of brands do they normally tend to go for?
Yeah, so we have a huge like book of designers. We have a lot of Revolve owned brands. So like Super Down, L'Academy, I think I'm in Up Richard. Song of Style is ours. I can't think of them all on the top of my head, but we have a lot of in-house designers. Like we have a huge in-house design team. Another girl that I was friends with at Trunk Club, she left for a Revolve design job and she's doing like amazing right now. She got like headhunted out of Revolve. But their design team is crazy. They're like pumping stuff out. And we cannot keep our inventory. It's insane. But our designers are they're all kind of like those like young, like kind of hip brands like some of our most popular brands are like, we do really, like Framed as well, Saint-Casep, Bronx and Banco, Alice and Olivia, and then not like, also brands that you see like at Nordstrom, Free People, Blank NYC, BB Dakota, all those brands. So we kind of range from like that younger trend that's like that young adult style all the way up to like more like Vince, Veronica Beard, and those kind of designers. It's really high quality and not always like trend forward, but very like fashion forward and like style focused.
So it's more like the base staples, like the classics and all that some people like tend to go towards.
Yeah, I would say we have like, I would say it's probably like 25% of those really classic pieces, like I mean like cashmere and like is it cashmere NYC? Yeah. Like a lot of like those like almost like right where they kind of border work and like everyday pieces. Like I'm like blanking on every brand that we carry right now because I'm looking at people. But yeah, it's a lot of just like those mid-range, like it's honestly a lot of brands that you would find at like Bloomingdale's, like that kind of thing. But we're also mixing in those more trendy pieces and kind of like up, like we have a lot of like up and coming brands. Like we like Dundas is a major designer, but they're a little bit newer on the scene, a little bit more just kind of coming into like, people are paying more attention, and we did a collab with them. That's really cool. We do like some cool active brands like Set Active. We just debuted at Fashion Week, and that's doing really well for us. So we go from those like tried and true, and then also those like staple mainstay brands.
Thank you. Oh, we have a chat in the question. It says, what are the positives and negatives of your job? Is there anything you wished you had done differently in your journey to your dream job?
Yeah, that's a great question. Positives, like I said, just being able to be creative every day and like interacting with people. Like I realize that I don't like a job where I can't be social in some way. So either you have like a really social, because I did the like personality test, and I was a 98% extroverted, which I thought was normal, but everyone in my office said was not normal and very skewed from everybody else's. So I need people around me in some way. So whether that's chatting with someone, being able to like have a call with a client, or just kind of catching up with them, like I love that. And like when people post something that they wore that I sent them and hitting, and also like I'm so competitive in a Capricorn, so like I need to like do well in my job. When I see my numbers going up, like it's like, oh my gosh, like people like me, they really like me, like they're listening to what I'm like. I feel like people are like listening to me, and also being able to collaborate with my my coworkers and the leaders of my company is absolutely amazing. Like me and Kim, my other stylist, we had tried that so many times at our previous job, and it just wasn't like, it's like our office leaders were receptive to it, but once it got bubbled up, like those higher ups were not involved with us. We didn't get to talk to them, and they would kind of crush our ideas, where I'm speaking sometimes, like we have our set meetings, but sometimes a few times a week we're sitting down with our CEO and chatting things out. He goes to our like team lunches and stuff, and it's so nice to have someone who's running the company but is so involved in each team that he is in charge of. Like he really cares about how things are going and how we feel and what we need. Yay, Capricorns. But negatives, I think honestly, just sometimes being a little like overwhelmed with things. Like some days there is just so much going on. And when I was hired to kind of bridge the gap over the weekend, because they didn't have weekend coverage, so I work by myself on Saturdays and Sundays, which is like honestly really nice. Like I love it. My boyfriend works weekends too, so we don't care. But being on my own and having like a busy day where it's like you have 35 people to get back to, and you don't, and you have an entire queue of people who are waiting for you that have been waiting for 24 hours. It's like, it can be a little stressful. And then just the like general kind of clunkiness that we're trying to work through with it being a newer position. I honestly don't think I would have done anything differently. Like I said, I feel like maybe begging for jobs that did not suit me wasn't like the best, but in the end, like interview experience is interview experience, job experience is job experience. I would say like if you're in a job that's like maybe a step up from your retail position or is kind of a stepping stone in your career, don't dismiss it. I know some people have left the industry after working 6 months at the last job I was at and kind of were like, this isn't for me, which I get it. It can be, discouraging, but if you stick with it, like you're kind of almost guaranteed to find the next thing and it will be better. And even if that second job or that third job isn't where you want to be, or even like for me, like this job could be great for 3 years and then I'm going to be like, I can't do this anymore. That's fine. Like you're taking what you're learning from each job and it only makes you better at your next job. Like I would not have this job if I didn't take my last job so seriously. Like I said, it's a point of pride for me that I was held in such high esteem in that office. And when I left, it made an impact. Like it felt bad being in that working environment. But when I left, it was like, oh, they're going to miss me and people are going to notice that I'm gone in like a positive way. And that's a good feeling. And that's what you want to take with you from job to job is people don't want me to leave. They value what I bring to the table. They value my eye. They value my ability to sell whatever it is. Like take that and like keep that in your pocket and remember those things about your job and think about those things in the moment, because there was a lot of times where I kind of took it for granted or just was over it and didn't really think about how I was building my career from a different perspective.
Does Revolve have a sustainability team?
What was that?
Does Revolve have a sustainability team?
I don't believe we have a specific team devoted to that. That would probably be a subset of our buyers. I think we have a team, like a specific team of our buyers that work with our sustainable brands. But that is something we're working more and more with, is finding those sustainable brands. And we had like an entire room dedicated to like cotton and sustainable fabrics at our Fashion Week event. And that is something that we definitely are always looking to add more of. And that is because it is valuable to our customer.
I actually had a question.
Yeah.
You said that showing your personality is really important, especially like through like networking and stuff. But do you have any advice for people like myself where it's harder to show personality to other people?
Yeah, I mean, don't put yourself in a position where you're uncomfortable. Like, push yourself a little bit, but like there are definitely people that I work with now. Like I would say Ryan, who is the lead of my team, like he's a little more introverted and it took a while for him to open up to me. But like I think as long as you're letting your like, you don't have to like be an open book with people if you're not comfortable doing that. And honestly, that's not always professional, but like being able to convey like little parts of your personality and interactions, and just the way that you treat people honestly is great. And like as you get more comfortable in your workplace, like there's people that I worked with that when we first started, I hadn't heard them say 2 words, and as we all got more comfortable together, they talked more. And in that case, like you let your work show more, like as you're getting these jobs and into it. Like if you're in an interview and you don't feel comfortable showing your personality, or you're not super outgoing, bring in your data. Like bring in like, this is what I can bring to the table. Make sure your resume shines. Make sure if it's a job where you need a portfolio, like show your creativity and your personality in that. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be yourself and the way that you are interacting. You can be kind of soft-spoken and more professional in that aspect, or professional in that aspect, and let it shine in other aspects.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and also like if you're going, if you have like a special piece or something toward your interviews, like that you can kind of speak to, that kind of will let you be a little more comfortable. Like my trunk club job, I had worn these like my like side hobby is vintage dressing. And one of my favorite things to do with, I have a good friend, we do Dapper Day at Disneyland. And it's all, you know, vintage inspired and vintage pieces. And we would spend like, we haven't been able to do it in a couple of years now, but we would like go to Burbank and just go like vintage hunting. And we would spend like the 6 months leading up to it, finding like our perfect pieces and really getting into that. And I had a pair of like vintage T-strap shoes I wore to an interview and just like worked that into it and got to like kind of talk a little bit about something that interested me alongside my career. And they interviewed for that position, like they interviewed, I think 600 people and hired 30. So any little thing that you can, and that's how a lot of jobs are, if any little thing that you can find that works for you and feels comfortable for you, that is a way for you to stand out, do it. Yeah, it's when we heard, they didn't tell us that until we got the job, like our first day of training. They were like, just so you know, and we were like, what? We all looked at each other and we're like, okay, I guess we're special. And honestly, like the people that I worked with at that job were the best people. Like some of my closest friends that I have are from that job. I value those relationships like so deeply. And that's what I was saying about making connections. Like sometimes just have, like, you don't have to like work at that. It's not something you have to be like, what am I talking to this person about? Like when you're in a job that fits you, it happens naturally. It's just like, there were some girls that were, I worked with, it was like over 100 women in an office. So there's a lot of like gossipy things going on, people being very outspoken about not being happy at the job. And when kind of keep that to yourself if you're trying to move around, because people remember that. Like I said, there are people, I have a good friend of mine that I worked with that I think she would be great at this job, but I know that she would open up her laptop, make it look like she was working, and then go to the beach for 4 hours. So that's not someone, like, I think she's super talented and she's a lovely person, but I would never refer her to my job.
Well, we have reached like the full hour, but if anybody has any other questions, feel free to like put it in the chat or turn your mic off.
And if there's anything you think of later, like feel free to email me. It might take me a while to get back to you, but I will get back to you, I promise. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We learned so much today from you.
Thank you so much for having me. Like this, it was so nice.
No, thank you as well, because, you know, now I hope I make enough like later on in the future and get a decent job and support Revolve, because I like, you know, their method of working. Now that you told us like how much everyone puts so much hard work into it, I just can't wait to start purchasing everything.
yeah. And having that discount is very nice.
No. You're lucky to have that discount.
Oh, and it's not like, I've worked retail and I got a discount before, but this was like, I get how much off of this? Like I could afford a Chloe bag now. Oh, okay. Yeah. Also look for benefits when you're applying. Like, don't be afraid to ask about, like, reach out to HR, ask what their benefits are, ask what their policies are. Because at the end of the day, you want to be at that position for as long as possible and you want it to fit you too.
Hopefully we all get as lucky as you then. Thank you so much.
I hope so. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much again for having me. It was so nice talking to everybody. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Noel, can you leave the meeting open, please? For the ones, please.